Hey, fragrance friends and enthusiasts. I got the best masculine rose on the market here. The rose that probably most men would be comfortable with wearing. That's called Miss Men by Amouage. Let's talk about how good this fragrance is and some mixed feelings at the end of the review. Yes, I do have a couple things that perturb me about Amouage and what's going over or at the house of Amouage. But first off, this is a beautiful fragrance. The three main accords that come to my nose and that's most important for you to know is the rose, of course. It's a dry, more of like a white rose. This isn't Aldehydic, this isn't green, this isn't your pink fluffy rose, this isn't Bulgarian or Taif or anything like that. This is a dry, a powdery, maybe crumbling white rose. It's definitely a different rose type of feel. There's ash here, which adds to this dryness and this airiness and this openness to this fragrance. It's very interesting how open this fragrance feels. If you've ever burnt natural wood, like in a campfire, there's those white ashes that are left after the fire happens, and they have a little bit of this unique smell about them. Now, I'm not trying to say this fragrance is overtly smoky. There is incense in this fragrance. This isn't Amouage. Some of their new modern fragrances from Amouage get away from the original Oman, Middle Eastern type feel and DNA. But this fragrance still has some of that here with the incense. I personally like that. But the biggest accord, the third accord, is not the incense really. It's really the rum. And there's a lot of booziness here, and a lot of people like to focus on the rum. I have it sprayed on my arm here. I'm going to do one more spray for you to show you. Pretty good sprayer, a little bit short of a sprayer, but it does a good burst. And it is a long-lasting boozy fragrance. It's not a terribly playful boozy fragrance because of again, we mentioned ash. We mentioned, there's leathery components with that ashiness as well. We talked about that dry white rose. So this is not exactly a playful fragrance. And that's one reason this fragrance hasn't become terribly popular, is because a lot of people like fun, happy fragrances. Is why people are so attracted to tropical feeling fragrances or citruses, aromatics. They're so attracted to fresh, happy florals that uplift you. Things like mint, bergamot, grapefruit, and so much more. This fragrance is a little bit almost gothic. It's not dark and dreary. It's not exactly sad. But it certainly could go with somebody who's, maybe feeling a little bit more brooding, maybe angry. This fragrance could work with that personality more. I don't see somebody wearing colorful, rainbow colors or looking like somebody out from a tropical paradise or wearing bright pink or yellow enjoying this fragrance. This might scare somebody. If you like to wear like a big bright pink dress, or you're really into really colorful things and happy and you like to decorate or whatever it might be, and this might scare the ladies away. This is a very unisex fragrance, and that leads me to my next point. Some people feel like this is more masculine than feminine, and some people think that no fragrance needs this type of discussion. But this fragrance is marketed for men, and this type of marketing or differentiation between fragrances is very controversial to some people. It still works. Now I don't want every brand to do it. I don't think it should be over the top. But I actually do like that Amouage does have a fragrance that's more for the men, and maybe one that's more for the ladies. I personally like knowing, that it's going to suit me and my feelings and my identity or my personality a little bit more. And some people might not like that, but this here is a rose that a lot of men are going to be comfortable with. And a lady could pull this off, no doubt about it. If you're very confident, go for it. I've met a few ladies who are comfortable with wearing like Anateus, and that is considered one of the most macho fragrances that's ever been made, Anateus. And so ladies, of course, anybody, guys too, can wear whatever the heck you want. But this fragrance here, I think, is going to be more comfortable on the guys. And a lot of guys might not be able to even be willing to take the risk in the first place because it has rose. And it's a little bit different. And it's not trying to be overtly seductive, but it is a very seductive fragrance. Let me tell you. So I'd love let's jump into more of the notes and wrap up how this fragrance feels and smells. I talked about the leathery facets. I do think I do like that that brings out some of the feel. And there's iris, which softens up the fragrance in the mid, softening it up. Again, the biggest accords are the ashiness. The incense is a big player, but not the biggest. We got the booziness, the ashiness, and the rose. We talked about some of the incense. There's vetiver here. I don't get a lot of it, but it does add a little bit of woody dimension, some intrigue, some complexity. There's a few more interesting florals like chrysanthemum. And there's a little bit of elemi for a little bit of a smooth, I guess, a tiny bit of an aromatic woody feel. It helps add a little bit more transparency through the fog, or almost the, imagine the white smoke that this fragrance brings. And that brings the elemi, tries to help you swim and get through the smoke. So, this is a fantastic fragrance, but it's not for everybody. I don't think that this is the most challenging. It's certainly not the most challenging niche fragrance, but if you're just getting into niche, or maybe you've never tried a lot of challenging fragrances, this is something that might scare you a little bit. But for people who are veteran noses deep into the fragrance hobby, this is going to be something that maybe turns you on, maybe turns you off. Fairly wearable, but maybe not interesting enough, depending on how weird you go or how deep you go into fragrances. I know a lot of different types of people watch my fragrance content. So, anyways, fantastic fragrance. Performance is here, 8, 9, 10 hours, no doubt about it. Plus, I think you'll get 8 hours minimum. Now, I'm not saying that this fragrance dies at 8 hours. I say that it's still alive and kicking 8 hours plus. So this fragrance, I tested it, and one time, it doesn't always do 24 hours, but it did 24 hours on me one time. So expect solid performance all day wearing out of this fragrance, no doubt about it. This is a strong performing fragrance. You don't have to worry about it. Performance-wise. Projection, pretty darn good. Sillage, one of a great, anything with incense tends to do well with the sillage, and this is excellent sillage. This leaves a trail, a mysterious, attractive, alluring, maybe slightly dangerous trail, and maybe somebody wants to follow you and maybe somebody doesn't, but that's the risk they might be willing to take. Anyways, with the compliment factor, this is a fragrance that I didn't get, again, with fragrances that are seductive or alluring or anything like that. I don't get people telling me that I smell good. Usually it's how they act and how they look at me and how they come across, because of how you are presenting yourself with how you look and how you smell with a fragrance like this. In my experience, this was, compliment factor-wise, something that it demands a reaction. Not that it's in people's faces exactly. It has the iris again. It has leather. It has things that soften up this fragrance. It's not a dark, smoky fragrance, but again, for people who are sensitive to smoke, this is probably too much. But this fragrance demands a reaction, not immediately, but eventually, somebody is going to want to, either express interest or that something is odd's going on. This fragrance, again, not for everybody. Again, something that I might put more in the gothic territory, like Encre Noir. Even if you do like Encre Noir or Wonder Oud, anything like that, you might like this fragrance. It's not as aggressive as Encre Noir, but it's in that wheelhouse of things. Like if you like gunpowder in notes or flint or anything abstract or unusual like that in fragrances. So one of my final thoughts, I think this is a great fragrance. I still enjoy it. I love the booziness here. I think the booziness, honestly, I think this fragrance has been reformulated. And Amouage, I don't want to go out and say that this is the second reformulation. After they switched them to the magnetic caps, most veteran noses and people deep in the industry know that there was a change, that the ingredients or the compositions were really the same, but they really just weakened the fragrances. This one, maybe I just had a very maturated or very mature sample, but I remember it being deeper. I remember it being more complex. I remember things smelling a little bit more natural out of this. Since I've gotten this new bottle, I know it needs to, maturate. I know it needs a little bit of a reaction, a little bit of time with some air after I've sprayed it a couple times. But, and it is smelling better and better over time, and that happens sometimes with fragrances. But I don't remember experiencing that with the original Amouage, and I don't have an original bottle of Mistman to compare it to. I remember the bottles being darker purple. This one is kind of a, a lighter purple to a darker purple, a gradient, I guess you could say. And this feels a little bit more synthetic. And again, I'm being a very picky nose, and I smell very well, and it smells very good. I still enjoy it, but if I smell it up close, and I paid attention to it, especially when I first spray it. There's maybe it's the chrysanthemum coming off that burned off in that sample, maybe it was a certain aspect of the rose. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something that gives it a little bit of that almost paint thinner-esque, maybe it's the Elemi. Styrax can do it. This plasticky almost feeling just in the opening, and threw me off a little bit when I first sprayed it. I wasn't expecting that. And Amouage, I hope that you're not reformulating your fragrances. I tried a sample of Jubilation 25, my favorite, and it's not near as good as my bottle. And my bottle is a magnetic cap. But the sample was far weaker and did not smell terribly original. It did not smell. It smelled even more weak, and it lost most of its character. And that was a sample. I don't know how old that sample was, and I don't know if it was a legitimate sample. But I find it interesting that, again, Amouage is starting to release their pure extracts, like 53%, or really high, 40% really high concentrations of certain fragrances where people demand the performance, and then they want you to pay extra for it. It's almost like they've dumbed down or gave us eau de cologne versions. Like Maison Francis Kurkdjian at least had, no, not Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Well, they did the eau de cologne thing too. But imagine, Roger Dove, they made all those cologne versions, but they made them separate releases. They didn't switch their fragrances and make all the original, Creation E or Enigma, the cologne version, and then release a new fragrance called the Enigma Creation E Extrait, and then ask for more money because it's a higher concentration, when it was really the same concentration as it used to be. It's just, they weakened all their regular fragrances. I feel like Amouage might have done us dirty. This is just speculation. I don't want to say something's for certain, but I feel like Amouage might have done that. And with their new creative direction, I'm not really connecting to their fragrances as much. I know that not everybody likes the incense, but some people do. I'm not really connecting with their newer releases as much, even though they're well composed and they're well done. I'm not really sure where this house is going. And I want to like this house, but they've always been a little bit challenging for some people like Montals, but they're taking risks, trying to be a little bit more modern, and they're slightly losing people like me who appreciated what their fragrances did and what their brand stood for. I have mixed feelings about them. That is for sure. So let me know in the comment section below how you feel about Amouage. Do you like the House of Amouage? Are you interested in them? Do you like the new direction with their fragrances being more modern and easy to wear? Meander is nice. I know lots of people who love Enclave, and Enclave, if you like more of a modern wearable fragrance, people are in love with it. Like Sedley from Parfums de Marly. But I don't know, guys. Mixed feelings for sure, but it's still a good fragrance. But that also brings us to the price. If you're going to dumb it down, you maybe should lower the price, but the price is still, $300 for retail. You can find these for great prices for $150 on discounters like Fragrance by CA, which is where I got mine. But that might not be for you. That might not be what you want to do. Some people don't like discounters and such, but you can get Amouages and even Parfums de Marly's at great discounts, and other name brands that sometimes as much as 50% off. And that's what I did. That's what I got to do with Amouage. And I don't know. I don't feel eager to really support them right now and pay the full money, full retail. I just can't do it. I want to support you, Amouage, but maybe Boundless. I still haven't got my nose on that. Maybe that will reconvert me to the House of Amouage. but I put in pause on Amouage, and I never thought I'd say that. So, anyways, ladies and gents, everybody out there, boys and girls, what do you think about this fragrance, this house, my review? Let me know in the comment section. Sorry that I went so much in detail and I went so much into my feelings, but I wanted to make this a little bit of an open discussion, and I try to make my reviews as open and thoughtful as possible. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell as you go out. Don't forget to come back Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays so that you learn about fragrances and smell amazing out there. I'll see you soon, everybody. Have a beautiful day, smell amazing, and see you in the next fragrance review. Bye.